Welcome to the Fireside Chat on the Everyday Athlete Podcast Network by Run Try Bike. We have Alissa Lay with us today. Alissa was the cover story of our March-April 2025 issue, and I had such a great time chatting with her for that story that we had to bring her back onto this show for the Fireside Chat. Alissa is a mom, wife, and athlete. And when I say athlete, I don't mean just in the sense of running, because she is also a natural professional bodybuilder. I met Alissa through We Run Long, of which she is a co-leader. If We Run Long sounds familiar, it is because we had the two founders, Kelsey Long and Rebecca Bowman, on our Fireside Chat, along with Becky Croft, who is a coach for some of the athletes that attended Camp We Run Long. We will talk to Alissa about that and much more. Before we bring her onto the show, please remember to subscribe, rate, and review the Everyday Athlete Podcast Network on your favorite podcast platform. And if you use Spotify, you can also leave a comment on our podcast. Tell us what you loved about it. There are 9 shows to choose from with various stories and hosts. I'm sure you will find one or all of them to your liking. So without any more delaying and rambling by me, let's bring Alissa onto the show and let's have a wonderful fireside chat. Hey, Alissa, how are you?
Hey, Jason, I am wonderful.
I love to hear it. We have an icebreaker for everybody that we bring onto the show, and oftentimes it dictates whether or not we have a good show or not. So no pressure.
No pressure.
Pineapple on pizza, yay or nay?
Pineapple on pizza? Absolutely not.
Yes!
Absolutely
Yes!
not.
I don't understand you people who do it. Good for you. Enjoy it, but don't put it on my table.
For a poll on my job.
Oh, the irony of me just saying that we never had any issues with Wi-Fi, and here we are today. Oh, no. We may have lost Alissa on the show. Hopefully the Wi-Fi kicks in and we are able to get her back. I will try to fill the time until that happens. So let's see what I can do. I mentioned the Everyday Athlete Podcast Network when we first got started. We have 9 shows on there. One of our shows is Melanin MVP with Angela Hollowell, who just recently interviewed Mary Fleming for her podcast. If Mary's name sounds familiar, it's because we recently posted a story about her on our website. Mary just finished the London Marathon, which has earned her 6th star at the World Majors. So congratulations to Mary. We also have Food Fight Friday at the Aid Station presented by 7 Summit Snacks. That's where myself and Adam Lee basically have a blast with food choices when it comes to being at an aid station. We present our guest with 3 choices. They have to either choose to eat one, carry one, or toss one, and it's always good for a good laugh. This morning, we had Running Tales with Craig Lewis. He spoke to Joshua Ross. Running Tales is a Q&A style format, similar to this show here on the Fireside Chat, where Craig's interviewing everyday athletes with intriguing stories, much like this show. And it's fantastic because we get to hear so many different people telling so many different stories about their life in and around endurance sports. And it is one of the things that I love so much about having this Everyday Athlete Podcast Network on Run Try Bike. Our other shows include Enduring Minds, which after today, I'm going to record an episode or really an intro as a follow-up to the Jaron Duran story that Evan and I talked about on the In-Between, which is a byproduct of the Enduring Minds podcast. This week, we will be interviewing Brad Huff. And if his name sounds familiar, it's because we shared a story about Brad Huff not that long ago on our website. So if you go to runtrymag.com and search for Brad Huff, you'll find it there. It's a great story about men's mental health from a now retired professional cyclist. It's fantastic. It's one of those truly raw, open, and honest conversations in endurance sports. And I'm really excited to be able to bring Brad onto our show for Enduring Minds. So, that is just a handful of shows that we have there. In addition to our shows, you can check us out on any one of our social platforms, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, X, threads where we are talking to people within the endurance sports space about the things that they're doing in life, because we know that we're more than just runners. We are people who are parents and spouses. We are sometimes, some of us are students, and some of us are business owners. We are more than just the metrics of pace and mileage. And it's one of the things that the Run Try Bike community is been known for, and it's one of the things that we often share with each other is some of the stuff that we're overcoming and the things that we're dealing with in our everyday lives. And so we want to share your story. Contact us, info@runtrymag.com, or slip into our DMs and let us know what we can talk to you about and share your stories, because your story matters. And that's one of the things we want to emphasize over and over again. Your story matters. Looks like we are having, oh, wait a minute. Looks like Alissa might be back with us. Did I stall well enough to get you back on the show?
I think you did. I think it was actually my internet. So, I'm so disappointed.
It's so funny. We were literally in the back room talking about the fact that we have very rarely ever had any issues with Wi-Fi, and sure enough, I jinxed us.
You know, and like I told you before, like I do virtual presentations, and so like I had everything lined up. Like I had like my iPad back up, and like I had like the ring light, and I'm like, it wasn't me. It had to be
We
Jason.
left.
No, it
We
was me.
left off with pineapple on pizza. You said that no, it's not something you want, and then you were starting to follow up on that.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. No. And I think I caused like a whole bunch of turmoil at work because I asked that question in a Friday forum that we had. And like the chat was just no one was paying attention to the subject. Everyone was like, yes. We were like, no. They was like, are you crazy? I was like, I did not think I did not think that was gonna happen.
I
Sorry.
love it. It's such a polarizing topic. It's one of the reasons why I love asking it.
It is.
And the funny thing is, people think that I hate pineapple, and I'm like, no, I absolutely love pineapple. I will eat it in just about anything. Just don't put it on my pizza.
Yeah, it's delicious, but yeah, just not pizza. We don't need it. Not
In
for
the
everything.
introduction, I talked about Camp We Run Long, and I want to talk to you about that because
Mhm,
that's how we got connected through Kelsey and Rebecca and Coach Becky.
mhm.
Um, and you're a co-leader at Camp We Run Long. So, what does co-leader mean? Like, what are your sort of responsibilities in that with that title and with at the camp?
I just show up. I don't even know why they made me a co-leader. No, no, seriously. So I got introduced to Kelsey and Rebecca because they joined the 1928 Legacy Tour virtually, and I was supporting my friend Keisha a lot. And they were like, "Hey, like, can you talk about your involvement and you as one of the riders, since you're doing it actually live?" I was like, "Great." And then it was like, "You know what? We really like you. Like, you should be a co-lead." And I was like, "Of what?" And they were like, "Of having people running trails." I'm like, "People running the trails? Oh, people do that?" And she was like, "Yes." I was like, "Oh." I was like, "Well, I love the mission. I love the purpose of getting Black, Indigenous, and people of color on the trail. I'm not sure how much I can support you because I know very little about the sport, but what I am passionate about is taking up space, helping people feel comfortable. And I would say that's probably my main objective of the individuals that we bring on to the team and to the campus. How can we make sure you feel comfortable? How can we make sure you feel included? And just allowing individuals to take up space in their own way. So I would say logistically, Kelsey and Rebecca, they are definitely doing the heavy lifting. I'm more support, and then I also just, hey, um, you've been in this field, you've been in the spectrum for so long, you may not see this outside perspective.
Let me ask you something. Is taking up space, was that something that has always been a part of your thought process? Or is that something that has sort of developed as you've gotten older and into adulthood and maybe into motherhood?
It has gradually increased, and how I've just navigated through the world. It probably, I would say, really started when I was in high school. So for a majority of my life, I was in schools that were mostly just mostly like individuals that were black. Like that was just most of the students were black. And then when I got to high school, it was like there was just so much diversity. I was like, oh wow, like this is way different than I'm used to. So in those communities that I was in before, like taking up space wasn't really a thing because like we all were seen, we all were there. Didn't really feel like that I wasn't seen. But when I got into that space of not necessarily feeling seen, I was like, well, why does that change? And then it was like, okay, well, you're not the majority anymore. You are seen as a minority now. And I was like, oh, like that has changed. And especially when I went to Penn State, which is considered a predominantly white institution. Like I definitely felt it more there. So I was the one in the front of the class. I was like, okay, like you're going to see me. I'm not going to be in the back of the class. Making sure I raised my hand and I did. I won't say crazy, but I did everything when I was at Penn State. So I was in the homecoming chair committee. I was like membership chair of our major student. Like I did everything because I was like, I am going to take up space and I'm going to be seen in spaces where I'm not seeing people that look like me, and continue that in the workspace that I'm in. But as I've started to get more into athleticism, this is another way for me to take a space outside of education and work.
Is it an opportunity for you to engage people who had that same reaction that you had, which was people run on the trails, like people do that stuff? Is that sort of a way to be like, look, I'm going to be the person who's at the front of the class and I'm going to help you come to this classroom with me and show you that, yeah, we can go out onto the trails and run and enjoy nature just like anybody else?
Exactly. I would say that's part of it. The other part I would say comes from my grandmother when she would say to me, like, when you're in certain spaces, you are going to essentially a lot of times be the front runner or the example. And it's going to be up to you for either people to say, okay, we want more people that look like you or not. So that could feel a little weighty sometimes of,
Yeah.
okay, when I am in the room, I have to make sure I'm being a good example so that if anyone else is interested or has the same passions as me or wants to do the same thing, like running on the trails or being a bodybuilder or being in this major, then they're not going to be looked at as, oh, should we do we think they're capable? It's like, oh, we saw someone who was capable, and then those other individuals like, no, I was able to do it. This is what it looks like, and representation is just always going to matter, no matter what.
Yeah, when I first started this company, I was interviewing a black female runner, and
Hmm.
she said, "Jason, representation matters." And you hear that a lot. And look, I get it. I present as a white male, and I'm Puerto Rican,
Hmm.
and but you hear the words representation matters, and they I don't know if they just rolled off my back or I didn't think anything of it or what it was, but when she said it and her face was with determination, I was like, she's right. Like it was like a switch that got flipped.
Hmm.
And so, as much as we use that phrase, do you think it's sort of lost its impact because it gets used a lot and people may not fully grasp what it actually means? Like I didn't fully grasp what it meant.
No, I don't think it gets used too much. I think people sometimes need to have that moment that you had where you're like, wait, like it does really matter. Like there's certain things I can remember as a child, even though I felt like the majority because of how and the culture I was raised. When I would see certain things, let's say um like certain TV shows, I'm like, okay, like I would you don't see as many shows that have like the representation of a black family as you did with like white families. And so when you saw that black family, you're like, okay, like this is out here and you gravitate towards it so much because you can see yourself and you can understand the jokes and you can understand the language. So it's still so important. I don't think it's used too much, but I do think you may just have to have that moment of this is what it means for me for
So
it to really click.
I believe, if I'm not mistaken, Camp We Run Long was November of last year. Is that correct?
Very close.
September.
September. Just one more.
In that,
In the fall. In the
thank you.
fall.
In that time frame, and which is not a lot of time, have you noticed or felt or seen more Black athletes, or maybe more Black female athletes, coming to you and asking you about trail running and what it's like, and how do I get involved, and how do I, maybe participate in Camp We Run Long for 2025?
Hmm. Yeah, the exciting thing for Camp We Run Long 2025 is we did not know any, we did not know probably about 90% of the applicants. So what that tells us is that we are expanding our reach. We are reaching out to individuals who we don't know, but also who are, there were so many individuals who never did trail running before. So that was one of the questions that we asked. So not only are we reaching, like getting more Black, Indigenous, and people of color, but also people who are just new to trail running in general. So they may have, run in the streets or on a track or whatnot, but they are like, okay, I want to try this trail running thing because I saw these images of what this camp portrayed. Um, and so now I have this idea and I see this representation and okay, I can do it. So we are definitely getting more questions about how do I get into it? What do I need to do? I should do this. I'm going to sign up. And it's
I
so
love
cool to see.
hearing the emotion in your voice, because I did play detective and scroll through your Instagram, and on a post about Camp We Run Long, first of all, like, there's a picture of you in the middle, and I don't know if you did this on purpose, but you're in a yellow shirt, and so all the other colors are muted, so you stand out in the middle of that. But every face around you is smiling big, and it just put a big smile on my face. I'm like, this is a group of people that are enjoying what they're doing. They're enjoying the company that they're in. In that post, you wrote
Hmm.
that you were crying tears of joy. And I want to know
Hmm.
why it's so important for you to be representative of BIPOC athletes, to bring BIPOC athletes to the trails, but being seen on the trails, like, why is that important? Because there could be a million other things, right, that people could be doing. They could join the chess club or go to book clubs, but
Hmm.
why is that connection between you, the BIPOC female athlete, and the trail so important that it would actually bring tears of joy to your face?
Yeah. So I'm gonna make a little funny here. I wore the yellow shirt so that just in case I got lost in the trail, someone would find me. So
I
that
love
was
it.
intentional. I was like, you're gonna find me. You're gonna find me out there. But the tears of joy, they really came for, I would say, three main reasons. One, every single person that was at the camp crossed the finish line. Every single person. And not only that, we cheered on every single person that was um that came through the finish line as well. So it wasn't just about a we run long. It was just about celebrating everyone's ability out there, and then also just showing that we're here to support everyone. It's not just a we and a you, but it's an us thing because we all want to be on the trails. So that's the first thing. Two, I am such a huge fan of moving your body. And when it comes to being an activist, sometimes I think for a period of time I wasn't sure how I could be an activist. Like what are ways for me to be a representative or to show representation? And I really felt like this gift of athleticism that I had was a way for me to show um, and to be active. So when I move my body and I can convince other people to do it, it just shows me that I'm really honoring this gift that God gave me, and now we're expanding what was out there, and people just felt like capable, and it. sometimes you don't realize your own impact. I would say it's the last thing until other people come up to you. So there was like people that was like we wouldn't be able to do this without you. I'm like, you don't see your own impact, and sometimes people just have to bring it in front of you. And it was seeing the collective. I was like, wow, like we really made this happen, and it can only
Do
go up
you
from here.
think that the idea of celebrating everybody as they're finishing breaks down barriers, removes the gatekeeping because the person that you're celebrating, regardless of what time they're finishing in, feels special? And that is an encouraging move to get
Hmm.
them to come back out to do it again at a different time or on a different trail or just to keep getting out there and keep moving. Is that the importance behind celebrating everybody as they come across the finish line?
Yeah, like we don't know where each person came from in terms of like their training, their story. Um, Even just looking at the story of some of the campers, you had individuals who never trail run before. That was like one of their longest distances. They were, recuperating from injuries. Um, just how running has helped them mentally and physically, and seeing that within our group, can only imagine how many of the other runners probably have some of the same stories. And so when we're able to celebrate everyone and not just say, okay, this is just this group. Like everyone has their own story. And when you cross that finish line, like like you are crossing it. Like the first year I did Westline Winder, I did the 50K because that was the only distance they had. And I was the last person. Like I was the last person, but I still felt like I crossed the line first because I knew for me what it took to get there. And also the race directors, Kelsey and Caleb, they made sure they were like, hey, like we are going to be here until you cross the line. Like we're going to make sure that you're celebrated as you cross this line, no matter if you're the first place, female that comes across, or you are the last one, which which you were. Um, so it was just when you celebrate other people, you're bringing joy within yourself. It doesn't hurt to clap for someone. It's not hurt to say like you doesn't it doesn't hurt to clap for someone and say you did a good job. Um, and I also think I said three things, but just one more thing. When you say or do something,
Mhm.
acknowledgement is nice. You're doing these things, you're saying these things to want to be acknowledged in some way. Jason, if you told me you just got a puppy and I just go off about pineapple and pizza, you're like, hey, she didn't even acknowledge that I just told her something about, that I was really excited about. But if we can, but if we can acknowledge these things, it just makes us more human. Just allows us to talk and really get to know each other and create more
I
humanity.
couldn't agree more with you. Like, it's not that hard to listen. It's not that hard to pay attention. It's not that hard to ask a question. It's not that hard to celebrate. It's not that hard to applaud. And you know what also is not hard? Scrolling by. Like, you don't have to comment negatively on a post. You could scroll right on by, right? The same two thumbs
Right.
that you're going to use to type something negative, you could use them to scroll past and not get into it. Like, I don't understand. We just had an exchange on Threads
Hmm.
about the anger emotion, and I don't understand it. I don't understand why people are desiring to just be angry all the time. And it's like
To be,
go
yeah.
outside, like call Alicia, go out on the trail, go look at the mountains, get some fresh air,
Yes.
go outside.
Get some vitamin D. That's definitely going to help your mood and change your perspective of life for sure. Get your blood pumping, but this is not helping. This is not helping your attitude. And how I mean your reach seems to be, not seems to be, like your reach is pretty big with all of the podcasts and things that you have. Like how do you not respond to that
We
negativity?
almost never get it, in all honesty. Like, we almost never get it,
Okay.
and maybe it's because I don't wanna say I lay down the law on day one, but I'm like, "Look, this is who we are, this is what we are going to do, this is what we're going to talk about." I
Hmm.
know personally, not everybody likes me, and that's okay, right? Like, you don't have to like what I'm doing, and you
Hmm.
don't have to like me, and that's okay. I remember we got an email, probably like 2 or 3 months into the launch of the business, And I said, I want to talk to BIPOC athletes. I want to talk to physically challenged athletes. I want to talk to queer athletes. I want to talk to female athletes. And I got an email that said, so you don't want to talk to white males? And I said, if the white male is gay, if the white male has some sort of disability that they're overcoming, then yeah, I'm happy to talk to them. But there are other platforms for them. They don't have to come here if they don't want to. And if they're not comfortable with what they see on the screen, that's okay too. Like, it's fine. And I guess, by being the leader in that way and being vocal about it in that way, it has precluded people from coming out and saying negative things about us. I mean, we have the pride flag on our logo 2 years ago. Like everybody, every other business, on July 1st, I was getting ready to take it down and replace it with our normal logo. And it dawned on me, similar to the representation matters concept. It was like, these people don't stop being queer on July 1st, dude. Like, it's like there's no switch that they just like they flip off. And so we left it up there. And the response that we've gotten from people is, I didn't know who you were. I went to your website, I saw the pride flag, and I immediately became comfortable. And that's why I'm talking to you today. We've gotten more of that than the other way around. And I couldn't be prouder of that idea.
And it just seems to be a direct reaction of you as the leader, like you said, you as the leader saying, this is what we represent. So what comes out of this organization is we've already set the groundwork. Like, this is what we do. And so now it's up to you to say, okay, I don't or do want to be a part of this. And so it just is, this is what we need in all of the different avenues of the world. Like we need the leaders to say, like, we're okay. Like, this is what this is.
Right? Like, when you go to a dinner party, if every person there was talking about the same exact thing, you'd be bored to tears. You'd get up and walk out. You'd be like, great, I just heard Joanne talk about this, and now Larry is talking about it. I've got to get out of here. And I'm like, let's build a bigger table and let's just keep hearing all of these stories, because that's what connects us all. I'm a huge believer in our stories connect us. And now we have visuals to it. Like, again, I played detective. I was scrolling your Instagram and I see this picture of you in what seems to be the Rocky Mountains. There's snow-capped in the background. And immediately I'm transported to the times I've been at Ouray, to the times I've been at Leadville, I lived in Seattle and the Olympic Mountains were there, and I'm transported to there and I see Mount Rainier in my mental space. And that's cool, right? Like, that's cool. And that's what we want to do with our platform. I want to put Alicia's face with this beautiful smile on the cover so that other people can smile back and be like, that makes me feel good. Let me go do something productive now.
Because it's like, it's the representation. I wasn't sure if I can do it, but now I have this idea that it can be done. And now I have this motivation. Now, yes, you want to have your own internal motivations, but sometimes just having that story, having that pick me up a little bit is just what it's just.
I interviewed Robert Rodriguez about a year or so ago, and I didn't know his background. And within the first 2 or 3 minutes, he says that he's a Puerto Rican kid from the Bronx. And I almost fell out of my chair, because that's exactly who I am. I'm like, wait a minute, what? Like, there's another one of me out there in the world. Like, we're racing triathlon and running on the trails. And Robert is a below the knee amputee who's been on the USA triathlon team. He played for the USA volleyball team, Paralympic team, and stuff like that. He's just done amazing things as a public speaker. But the only thing I fixated on was the fact that he was a Puerto Rican kid from the Bronx. And I was like, if he can do it, then so can I, right? And I think that's the whole point of all of this stuff, so that when somebody hears this conversation and they see your picture on the magazine, on our podcast cover, and they hear your story about running trails, about being a leader for a trail event, they'll say to themselves, if she can do it, I can too. And the other thing we haven't talked about is the 1928 bike ride, right? Like, there's a long bike ride from New York City to Washington, D.C., right? And if somebody hears that story, they might say to themselves, what is that? I know you've talked to Angela Hollowell about it, so I know.
Yeah, Angela signed up.
That's right.
She just doesn't know it yet. Okay, she's on the list. She's on the list.
But the idea of the 1928 bike ride You did it a year ago in 2024. It was to honor 5 Black women who rode that route in support of Black athleticism and Black female athletes. Was that another moment for you to say representation matters? I don't typically see Black female athletes riding bikes, and I want to do that to show that we can do it too.
It was a combination of a couple of things, including that. So I actually did the tour in
Okay.
2021. It is still going on now. The next class is going Memorial Day weekend. So my friend Keisha Robeson, who's the one who's organizing the tour under her organization, Major Knox Adventures. When she first brought it to me, she brought it to me as an idea of, hey, I've read about these ladies. I'm thinking about recreating it. Do you think it's a good idea? I was like, I love this idea. This is wonderful. Like, just riding your bike from Harlem to, Harlem, New York to Washington, D.C. I know people who like to ride their bikes that long would love that experience, being able to recreate this tour. Yeah. And she's like, do you want to do it? I was like, you know what? And that's where the representation comes in, because I've never heard of women riding their bikes for 250 plus miles. I know it happens, but I just was not close to it. So this brought it to me. And then when I saw that representation of these 5 Black women who did in 1928, and I was like, well, I can do it. If they did in 1928, I'm sure with water and such, I can do it with Gatorade. There's electric lights now that we're aware of. And when I signed up to do it, I think I've never rode more than 10 miles. And I had been trained for a 250-mile bike ride. So, one, I'm a little crazy, as you can probably hear in our conversation. But two, it was just the it was just the awe of knowing that those ladies did it in 1928. Not only did they ride their bikes on, the streets weren't
Right.
paved like they are now. The bikes that they had, I'm pretty sure, were like wooden. They were riding in like furs. Like,
Long
they didn't
dresses,
have,
probably.
the gear that long dresses and gears. But they also rode from New York to DC. So, like, 5 Black women going north, further south. Like, I mean, yes, Washington DC is now like south
Yeah.
south, but you're still going further down. In that time period, and I was just like, I was just so inspired. I was like, okay, this is something that I want to help. And doing that experience, 3 days, it rained
Oh,
every
no.
day. And you know what Alicia did not do? Alicia did not ride her bike one day in the rain. Any day that it rained, I rode my inside bike. I was like, I'm not riding in this rain, because we're not doing this bike ride in the rain. And as we got closer to the date, I was like, Keisha, it's gonna rain, what's the rain date? She's like, there is no rain date. There's no rain date. So I was like, okay, I guess we're riding in the rain. And it poured. It poured all 3 days, but we we completed it. Um, I do have to come back for 2028. One, because it'll be 100 years from 1928. But two, I do have like a little bit of I won't say vendetta, but we didn't ride part of it just because of all of the rain, and it was just crazy late. So I'm like, I have to do the whole thing. Like, my mind is like, you finished it, but you like didn't really finish it. So like, I have to do the whole thing. So that's why
There
Angela
we go.
has signed
You
up
hear that,
for
Angela?
2028. So you got to give
Is
her that week
now,
off.
is it only women that do the bike ride? This particular bike ride, or do men participate as well?
So transgender women. So yeah, so women are doing this bike ride, and it's Black and Indigenous and
So,
people of color as of right now. Now, I'm not sure if there's going to be any changes maybe for 2028, but as of right now, that's how Keisha is running the tour.
one of the things I love about running this business and this platform is the conversations, because you hear things that people say, and they don't resonate until they resonate. And we're talking about riding from New York City south to DC in 1928. And I realized I'm doing the math, I'm like, that's like 35, 40 years before the civil rights movement even takes place. And so for these women, these 5 Black women to ride south at this time in this nation's history is unbelievable, right? Like, I've read the story, I've heard you talk about it, but it wasn't until you said riding from New York City to DC heading south did also the math trigger in my head that it, like I said, about 35, 40 years before the civil rights movement. And that makes it even more of an amazing story. And it's another reason why we have to have these conversations, because there are going to be people out there who say, I can't possibly ride a bike from New York City to DC. Yet these 5 women did it in a time of this country's history, again, where that was just not going to happen. It's not like they had police escorts, right? They weren't protected. They were on crappy bikes, more than likely, compared to what you have today. And they still felt this pull, this desire, this need to use your words, take up space. They may not have said, I'm going to take up space, but that's exactly what they did. And I think I think it's even more important to why we have to have these conversations and show people, look, it might be an inconvenience in the rain, but think about what these 5 ladies did, almost 100 years ago. I mean,
Exactly. And I think they, if I'm not mistaken, if I remember correctly, I think they did in February, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. I, for some reason, that's where my mind is going to. I could be wrong, but I feel like it was February, like when they did it, like February, March, or Easter. But it wasn't warm. I will say that. I'm pretty sure it wasn't warm. So yes. And like when I did the ride, and I will say there was a little bit of cockiness there, because I was like, well, if they could do it then, I can do it now. But then as I did it, I was like,
Right.
how in the world did they do it? Because I'm struggling. I got the electrolytes, I got the plan, I got the food, the fuel every hour, I got the gels, I got the gloves, the equipment. I was just like, how in the world did they do and my respect for them just even grew like tenfold once I did it. Because again, like you read it, you're like, okay, that's pretty cool. And like, but if you do it yourself, you're like, these ladies were like super
Did you
normal or
ride straight
something.
through for the 250 miles, or did you guys stop and rest?
We stopped. So luckily, I had conversations because Keisha's plan was originally to do camps. So we would be camping. That was the original plan. And I can't remember how the conversation happened, but we ended up switching it so that we would stay in hotels for the first day is the longest. That's from Harlem to Philly, so that's like 124 miles. Then it's from Philly to Baltimore, that's like 80-ish miles, and then the last leg is about 50 plus miles, depending on the route that they end up taking. So first 2 nights we stayed in hotels because I was like, can you imagine if we would have camping in the rain?
No. I think about the 1928 ride. Like, they're not, like, I have to imagine, right? If they were trying to get a hotel as they're going further and further south, that the chances of them being able to secure room is slim. The chances diminish.
They end up staying in the women's
Okay.
version of the YMCA. Like the acronym always escapes me because it's not
Yep.
YMCA because that's the man's one, but it's the women's version, and it's actually in Delaware. It's not that far from me. It's like 20 minutes from me, so that piece of history is still there. And so when they do the bike ride, they stop in front of that location and sort of like just have a because it's cool that it's still there, and then it's on the journey.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Does the things that you're doing today as well, are they also part of your thought process for your kids, to show them that, look, mom can do this stuff. Mom is taking up space. You need to take up space. And I get it. They're really young, but they're going to see that mom's accomplishments down the road. is part of why you do the things that you do today also to instill that mindset in them?
It is definitely a top reason why I do the things I do. They like being an athlete, before having my children. I won't say it's more of a selfish thing, but it's like, okay, like I want to win. I want to, place when I'm doing bodybuilding. I want to, be this strong. I want to be this fast. And but now that I am a mom, like I don't really track how fast I'm going when I'm doing my trail runs. It's like, okay, I feel good at this pace and I should be able to complete it. When I'm working out now, it's not to lift a certain amount of weight, but it is to show my sons that you have the ability um, to one, move your body. I definitely want them to have that mindset, but two, that things are going to be hard and they're not going to be easy. And you have this example of overcoming, and we need that in our lives of being able to overcome. My husband said something that I just continue to resonate on. He was like, our sons have no excuse for overcoming because there's podcasts like yours, Jason, where you're talking to individuals who are amputee below the knee, but they're still out in this world accomplishing. Like you have the, the Paralympics. It's like, and it's a lot more visible now than it was when we were younger, or, even before we were born. He's like, there's just because of these examples that are out there, and again, that keyword we've been talking about, representation, though any hard thing that they come across, they are going to be able to do. Um, I remember when our sons were born and they do like the hearing test, and the my one son's hearing test was fine, but the second born, they're twins, the youngest, his hearing test was like a little weird. And as soon as I heard that, first thing I did was like go on the internet and look up like how to learn sign language. Because like there's just so like I know that it's out there and ability. And I was like, if that's just what it's going to be, that's what's going to be. But there's not going to be any excuse. Like I don't care how difficult it is. We are going to make it work. We're going to make it happen. And I have to be an example of that. Otherwise, when they look around, like, well, they may see it from someone else, but it starts at home.
It's so interesting when you said that podcasts like ours talking about these things so that your sons, right, who again are really young, one day can see this stuff and not
Hmm.
have an opportunity to have an excuse. That empowers people like myself to say, we have to keep talking about this. We have to keep
Please.
sharing this, right? Like I don't have kids. I will never have kids, but I need to do it for Alicia's kids. And I need to do it
Please.
for somebody else's kids because again, we're going to say this word over and over again. Representation matters with this phrase. And if your sons and your sons' friends and their friends can see, you on a show like this and we're talking about this stuff, then you're right. They don't have an opportunity to say we can't. But it also means that platforms like ours have to keep talking about this.
Yes.
There are going to be days that are much harder than others. And it's going to be like, is anybody listening to this stuff? Is anybody reading this stuff? And that moment, in those moments, because of this conversation now, Alicia, I'm going to be like, yes, Alicia's kids are going to read this someday,
Yeah.
or they're going to listen to this someday. And that's okay if it takes 5, 6, 7, or 8 years. This is why we have to keep doing this and
Mhm.
play the long game, shall we say, for lack of a better phrase.
Yeah. It's that point that you just made. It's like sometimes like when I do post things, I'm like, does anyone care about this comment? Does anyone care about this post? But just to the point that you made of like, hey, like your comment about the joy that it brought, like that really made me smile. And I'm like, I can't say that I never ever knew that our paths were gonna cross, but it ended up reaching you somehow in
Mhm.
some way. So we just never know how our stories or what we're doing or what we're purpose for is, who's going to reach. And we may not even ever see the people that's going to reach, but that doesn't mean that we still don't do that purpose and what we're destined to do.
And I think about this, like we talked about the civil rights movement. So Angela Hollowell went to the Summit of Montgomery bike ride to
Hmm.
document it, and she and I have had many conversations about this. And I'm a basketball fan, so I think about Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, and I'm also a boxing fan, so I think about Muhammad Ali.
Hmm.
And it dawns on me often that the civil rights movement was barely 60 years ago, like barely
Right.
60 years ago.
Really.
Right. So in 2084, 2085, 60 years from today, like this conversation that you and I are having is going to resonate with somebody the same way that Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, formerly Lou Alcindor, or Muhammad Ali, formerly Cassius Clay. We're talking about rights and
Mhm.
rights for all and Dr. King and all of these things that we see today that if they had said to themselves, is anybody going to listen to this stuff, 60 years from now? Who knows what would have happened?
Who
So,
knows?
yeah, we got to keep talking about it and we got to keep showing up and we got to keep taking up space. Um, and like I said, I don't have children, so I'm not doing it for my children. I'm doing it for your children so that they can see that there are people out there who are willing to walk arm in arm with them, so they can
Yes.
have the same freedoms that everybody else has the luxury of having, for lack of a better term, I
Yeah.
guess.
And just to add on to that, if we don't take up the space, then that's an opportunity for people to say, well, they don't need it.
Right.
They don't want it. They're not out here.
Hmm.
So that's another reason why we have to be out there. It's like, no, I do want this. I'm just, it just one, it may not have felt safe before. That was actually like one of the reasons, a lot of reasons, people have said like, hey, why haven't you trial run when we asked them? It's like, hey, just not feeling safe, not knowing what to do. So if we're not taking up the space, then it's an opportunity for people to say, well, they don't even need it anyway. They don't want it. They're
Hmm.
not even out here.
Yeah, one of the things that Kelsey brought up when we interviewed her with Rebecca and Becky was the safety component. And I had never thought of that, right? It was not something I think of. My wife will tell you, like, I run in the woods and I'm like deaf, dumb, and blind to everything around me. Like, I'm just running around. Like, there could be a bear running down the trail and I just wouldn't know it was there.
You just
And
gonna
yeah, just going. Like, we lived in Seattle. We used to go on this trail every weekend. And one Saturday, we're sitting having coffee, and she's like, "Have you ever noticed that A-frame that's on the side of the trail?" And I'm like, "What are you talking about? There's no A-frame on the side of the trail." The next weekend, we walked out there, and I mean, Alicia, it is, if it's a foot and a half off the trail, it's 6 inches off the trail, and I had never seen it. Right? I'm just like in my own world out there, and so
hmm
when Kelsey mentioned that, I was like, you're right. Like, it's a foreign land for a lot of people, right? If
hmm
you grow up in the city like I did and work in Manhattan, like going to the woods was not a thing. It wasn't like,
hmm
let's go run in the woods for hours on end. Like, no, I'm
You're like,
scared.
I have yeah. Let's go to brunch.
Yeah, exactly. And so I think it's pretty cool, right, that you're doing that to show people like we can come out here, and you do have to continuously show up there so that others
hmm
can feel safe, and understand that you're doing it and they can too. And I think that is the biggest takeaway for this conversation, right? Representation matters because if I can do it, so can you.
So can you.
So we're getting close to running out of time, and we usually have a handful of food questions that are to get deeper into your personality on a different side of it. If you're up for it,
I'm up for it.
fantastic. Well, you've already gotten the pineapple on pizza question, right? So let's see how
hmm
many of
You
these we
said
can
right. There's right or wrong answers to this.
Yes, I'm right.
And follow along.
That's it. All right. Oreos. Are you an old school Oreo, a double stuff Oreo, a mega stuff Oreo, or a thin Oreo fan? Or none of the above?
Who in the world came up with this thin Oreo thing? That is just the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard of. I do love double stuff. And because of being a bodybuilder, when I would have to cut or reduce like what I was eating to little grains of rice and protein all day, when special Oreos came out, it wouldn't matter the flavor. Like I was getting them, and then like when I would be done my competition. So I that's still sort of a thing now where like if it's a special flavor that's out, like pancakes, yes. I don't even know how this is gonna taste, but give it to me.
Is there a particular flavor of Oreo that you're just uber fond of?
Oh man. In Surprisingly, I'm not even a coffee person. But there's this 8-time Olympian, Vitamin C. She's like a foodie too because of how restrictive her diet is. She suggested putting Java Oreos in the freezer. I did it. Amazing. It is absolutely amazing. And I don't even like coffee.
I'm heading to the grocery store after this to figure it out. Are you the person who eats the whole cookie? Do you bite it? Do you spin and scrape, or do you dunk?
So if I have it for the first time, I have to eat the whole thing. I have to get the whole bite. And then like the next cookie, it'll be that. And then depending on how much I like the cookie, then I'll just continue to eat it whole, or I'll split it and just eat like the cream. But first bite, you have to eat it. Like if you've never had the flavor before, you have to eat the whole thing. You have to have the entire experience. Like don't split. You gotta eat the whole thing.
Before we jumped on the show, I was talking to Mark Hunter on Threads, and I said, I'm going to have to start a coffee table book about people's eating habits because people eat things in so many different ways, and I love it.
Yeah.
I absolutely love it. Jason Fitzgerald was on this show once, and he told me the way he does it is he throws the first cookie into the milk and just lets it totally dissolve as he's eating the other ones. He's a dunker. And then when he drinks the milk at the end, it's like having cookies and cream ice cream because everything's just broken down and disintegrated. And all of the cookie crumbs come rushing in. And he's like, it's just like being a kid all over again.
That does not sound delicious to me. I don't want my cookies on mushy.
No, me
I like
neither.
that texture. I'm like when I do dip and it gets too mushy, I'm throwing that cookie away. I'm not eating it.
You pass it off to one of the kids. Here you go.
No. Mm-mm.
All right. Next question. Licorice, red or black? Are you a fan?
Red.
Red Vines or Twizzlers?
Twizzlers.
Did you bite the ends off and use it as a straw?
I don't remember ever doing that, but I will say, as a Twizzler connoisseur, the really big pack of Twizzlers from BJ's, the freshness is immaculate. Like the ones in the bag, the plastic, like the bags, they don't hold as fresh. But if you can get the container, it keeps the freshness way longer. So just the FYI for you Twizzlers fans out there.
Twizzler fans, go to BJ's, get it in a container, and
Get the
Oreo
container.
cookie fans, go get a Java flavor and throw it in the freezer.
Throw it in the freezer.
Is candy corn a real candy, or is it just earwax covered in sugar?
I'm okay. It's not something that I go and buy, but if it's there, I'll eat it. It's not something I'm going to go out and buy. But like I do know about candy corn because my sister is a huge fan of it. And so when I see it, I get it for her because it's so I'm like, oh, Tari would like this. And so
your
I'll get it for
sister's
her.
keeping Brock's in business then, because I don't know
She
anybody
is.
who enjoys it.
My sister definitely keeping the business. You know, they had a I got her this Starburst did a version of it.
I could get behind that, especially
I
if it
can,
tastes
yeah,
like Starburst.
yeah, it did. So when I saw that I got it for her, I was like, oh, she would love this. So, but yeah, she does love candy corn. But you know, if she's like, oh, you want some? I'll take some, but I'm not buying it for myself.
Creamy or crunchy peanut butter?
Creamy.
Are you a peanut butter and jelly sandwich eater?
Yes.
How do you make your peanut butter and jelly sandwich? Before you answer, here's how I'm going to give you options. Do you put peanut butter on one slice of bread, jelly on the other slice, and smash them together? Or do you put peanut butter on one slice, jelly on the same slice, and then smash it together?
I have never heard of that second option.
I do the second one.
That is. I've never heard of that. There's 2 slices of bread for a reason, Jason. Okay, one on one side, one on the side to get there. Okay.
Look, Alicia, we didn't always have 2
two.
slices of bread. Sometimes we only afforded 1 slice of bread, so you just had to fold it in half, right?
Now that I can get behind, but you still do one on one half and one on the other half, Jason. Okay, you got to get even distribution. Now, if you're feeling like you would like to get what these kids call a big bag, okay, peanut butter jelly sandwich, but make it grilled cheese, right?
Ooh.
Butter, like but you do have to put peanut butter on both sides and the jelly in the middle so that the jelly doesn't get like too runny.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Here's the trick for grilled cheese. It might work for the peanut butter and jelly grilled sandwich, but I put mayonnaise and butter on the outside of the bread so that when it grills up, it gets a little bit more crunchy because of the mayonnaise,
It
and
does.
it's tangy too. Ooh.
Yes. Now grilled cheese I would do that on, but I would not do that on the peanut butter and jelly grilled. No, not that. Not the mayonnaise. Mm.
I don't understand why the Food Network hasn't hired me for a podcast.
Listen, I support it. These questions need to be asked.
Okay, here's the next one. Red velvet cake. Is red velvet a real flavor, or is it just chocolate cake dressed up to go to the prom?
That is the most ridiculous thing. Red velvet is so weird. Like people be like, "Oh, I love red." It's just chocolate cake. It doesn't taste like anything. Actually, I don't even taste chocolate sometimes. Do you taste chocolate all the time? I barely taste chocolate sometimes. The
I-
best thing about the red velvet is the cream cheese frosting. That's the best thing.
That's it. Yeah.
That's
And
it.
look, by the way, for all you red velvet fans, I get it. If you have the alkalized cocoa and all of these things, but you have to go to a bakery to get it done so that it tastes different. If you're going to like Kroger or Albertsons, all they did was drop red food dye in there to turn it
That's what they
red.
did.
They're not doing all the special stuff to it. So you're paying $8.99
Yeah,
for a $2.99 cake.
yeah. Just get the chocolate cake.
What's your
Just get the
favorite
chocolate
flavor of
cake.
ice cream?
Jason. You also do not know I'm a ice cream connoisseur. So I traveled for 6 years in my previous role, and every place I landed, the first thing I did was search best ice cream near me. Fun fact: best ice cream, Fond du Lac, Wisconsin, Kelly Creamery. So good that my flight got delayed, and what did I say I had time for? To go get more ice cream. Okay, so left the airport, went to go get more ice cream, and came back. But because when you can go to these creameries, you can get like all these different flavors. I'm gonna say my favorite flavor is technically like French vanilla because there's like so many different flavors out there. Like I just went to one place and then it had like honey and graham crackers. It was called Graham Central Station, and so it had like honey and graham crackers and marshmallow. Like it was amazing, but
Oh, like a s'mores
that's
almost?
almost like a s'more. But
Oh,
it's not something I can get every day. So like, if I can just get a nice French vanilla, it's good.
I remember.
I had an ice cream food truck at my wedding.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, so I got married in Pittsburgh, and there's a Penn State Creamery food truck in Pittsburgh. So the stars aligned. I went to Penn State. I love Penn State Creamery. They had a food truck. We were able to have it at our wedding. So
I'll DM you my address for the invite to the anniversary party. Okay.
it's not gonna be in Pittsburgh. I'll tell you that.
I remember growing up as a kid, and I always thought, speaking of French vanilla, that the Breyers tub that my mother would get was like
Mhm.
unmatched. It was unmatched. It was like the greatest thing I could possibly ever get was like a scoop of that Breyers ice cream out of the
The
not a pint,
marketing
what
for
is it,
Breyers
quart?
was impeccable. Yeah, the marketing for Breyers was impeccable.
Oh, so good. We brought up s'mores. We're running out of time, so I'm going to make this quick. With marshmallows, are you the kind of person who wants to like toast it a little bit, or are you the kind of person who's make it a charcoal briquette?
I mean, I want it melty, right? So, but I don't want it charcoal. Like I want it melty, but not charcoal. Is that
I'm
right or wrong?
That's okay. I mean, cool. I'm gonna burn mine to a crisp, and I learned this from this show, which is why I love the show. That I forget who the guest was. They said if you burn it when you burn it to a crisp, you peel the outer edge off, you eat that, and then you put the part that's still like a little sticky back in the fire, so that also gets toasted, and then you eat it that way. And I was like, now that's thinking.
That's a lot of work. That's a lot of work.
All right, last question for you. A tray of brownies has come out of the oven. It's been on the counter long enough to cool. Are you the kind of person that's going to the corner, Are you going to the edge, or are you going into the middle for the ooey gooey?
If I'm making the brownies, they should be gooey. Like I don't like the cakey brownies. Like it needs to be gooey. But the corner does give it that little crunch. So like a little crunch, a little gooey. So we want for the corner.
Alissa, thank you so much for joining us. If you enjoyed this conversation with Alissa, go check out our March, January, February, March, April edition of the digital magazine. And
Yes.
you can find it where all of our other magazines are. And we'll put a link to it in the podcast episode too. Alissa, thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate it. It was a great conversation.
Jason, it was my pleasure. And good luck on your training. I know you have your 100 miler coming up. And tell Larissa hi.
Thank you. I will. For those of you who stuck around long enough to hear me out and talk to Alissa, thank you so much for doing it. To Badwater06, I see all your comments on Instagram. Thank you very much. I'm going to reach out to the Food Network based on your advice that I totally need to be on the Food Network. So we'll try to make that work. Stay tuned. Next week, we will be back with another episode of the Fireside Chat. We will also be having a special tomorrow on Wednesday. Wednesday, April 30th. We will be talking to Alexander, who is the head of No Normal Coffee. We'll have an Enduring Mind show on May 1st with Brad Huff. And next week's, Fireside Chat, which would be at 5 p.m. Pacific time, will be with Christy D. So make sure you check out the Everyday Athlete Podcast Network wherever you get your podcast shows. Thank you for sticking around, and we'll see you soon.